Hello, everyone, and welcome to another segment of the East Brunswick Advisory Health Council's Wellness Spotlight. And with me today is Orville Morales, who is the Community Campaign Manager of NJ Sugarfreed and the Public Good Projects. So tell us a little bit about yourself, Orville, and the Public Good Projects and NJ Sugarfreed.
Sure, of course. Well, first off, I'm the Community Campaign Manager for NJ Sugarfreed. And our goal is very direct. We're trying to kick New Jersey's sugary drink habit. And the reason why I mentioned sugary drinks is because the easiest way to consume processed sugar is what we drink. Millions of teenagers, adults, individuals drink sugary drinks and think nothing of it. But it's the easiest way, and we're at a stage right now where we do have an epidemic of type 2 diabetes, obesity, heart failure, tooth decay in our communities, and we need to find a way to address that. So NJ Sugarfreed has tasked itself to try to encourage the community to change and make a better decision when it comes to their sugary drinks.
Now, is this a project that's going on across the entire country, or is this an initiative that's just special for New Jersey?
This is an initiative special in New Jersey. The Public Good Project, who I also represent, is a health behavior organization that focuses on a variety of issues that affect our communities, from opioids and binge drinking, sugary drinks, teen pregnancies, and many other issues that, with some extra information for the community, they can make healthier and better decisions for themselves and their families. So in New Jersey, we work very closely with the Nicholson Foundation, which allows us to launch a campaign since 2017 to try to encourage organizations, community groups, parents, all sorts of groups to try to do something very specific. And that's decrease the sales of sugar-sweetened beverages, because that's how we could actually show that we're seeing a change in people's behavior by observing very specific measures. Because that's really the only way that we can know that anything that we say out in the community, is it working? And that's what we're doing here in New Jersey.
I would imagine that's a pretty daunting project because you know, there's an old expression, knowing the way isn't going the way. Right. And I think most people know that sugar is bad for you. You know, when we were kids, you know, sugar was bad for you because you can rot your teeth.
Right.
But that was it. And now more and more research is showing how toxic sugar is. In fact, there was one study that showed that it's so powerful and so bad for you that if it was discovered today, you'd need a prescription to get it because of the effects on the body. Right. That it works on the same part of the brain as opiates do.
It's amazing.
Right. So, you know, and it's interesting that you mentioned opiates also, you know, highly addictive, as sugar is. So with people loving the taste of sugar and the habit of having it in their homes and in their life, where do you begin?
Well, there's a lot of theories on where it could begin. There's a lot of different approaches. I mean, one of the common approaches that the public health field would look at is, you know, can we ban these items? Can we remove them from stores and locations? And we found how that's extremely difficult to do. So we found here at the Public Good Project that if we can create a mass communication campaign to try to encourage people and make sure that our campaign is very visible, people could start getting that message that there is a bigger issue with sugary drinks than we give it credit for. Certainly soda companies, energy drinks, fruit drink companies, they're promoting like crazy in our communities, if I'm being direct. And in some particular cases, in low-income communities, they're even promoting even more in those areas at a higher financial rate to try to encourage the behavior of purchasing more of these beverages.
Why is that? Why is it that they target low-income communities?
Well, if we're being honest, you also have to consider in low-income communities, the access to healthier foods is also very difficult. Often, some municipalities are considered food deserts, where the only real access to healthy foods are 1 or 2 supermarkets in a given town, or many corner stores have non-perishable items, which are often very high in other issues like salt and processed materials within the foods, but certainly very sugary foods. And oftentimes, the companies take advantage of that, and they know that if they can have a refrigerator inside of a corner store and give the local business owner a free vending machine and stock it full of the sugary drinks, that they're going to take it. So our approach is not so much to try to push policy on to individuals, but to try to change the demand on these beverages. And we are seeing a lot going on right now, where you could even see major companies are buying water companies to make sure that they realize people are changing their demand. And we're just taking advantage of that and encouraging the community to make better and healthier decisions, and they know it as well.
Orville, what do you say to people when they tell you that they should have the right to put in their body whatever they want? I remember years back when New York regulated the size of a sugary soft drink. People were buying soft drinks that were served in garbage cans. They were so big, and there was an outcry from the public.
It sure was. It's so much so that many organizations that I run into before we really started this work here call that out and say, well, we don't want people to get angry at us. What I would say to them, and has been said to many organizations that we worked with thus far, is that we also have a right to remind you what's the healthier option. And that's what we're doing here. We're not forcing you to not drink what you want to drink, but what we are encouraging you to know is some truth that the advertising companies do not do for you, telling you that drinking more water improves your energy levels, it helps you lose weight, it keeps you fuller longer. There's so many more benefits of drinking more water, and we also have a right to share that information.
Tell us a little bit about your program and how it works.
Sure. So the approach of this particular campaign really starts with doing the research. While right now there's so much research around sugary drinks and its health effects, we scour through all of the literature reviews, as well as we look at the media and what the media says about the issue and how are people engaging online as it relates to the issue. We also do research around consumer data and what are people interested in a general sense, because one of the approaches of our campaign is we are very creative in the way we are expressing the message. We just don't tell you water helps, decrease your risk of a certain disease, as much as we say water also helps you keep your skin clear, as you referred to before. It helps with your hair, and that, not my hair, obviously, but different ways that we can connect the message to the people we're targeting. And in 2018, last year, we had a specific target to African-American mothers and Latina mothers, because we're trying to target and decrease sales specifically in a given year, we had to make sure we targeted the community that would get the most benefit out of our message. Unfortunately, last year, we were able to drop sales of soda and fruit drinks by 8% in Passaic County. We also observed a drop throughout the state. And through our telephone and online surveys, we were able to discover that it was because of people seeing our campaign. And that shows a shift in people's understanding. And now this year, we're focusing on where most employers who purchase sugary drinks at a greater scale, we're focusing on them now. So we have almost 50 partners from hospitals, municipalities. Just the other day, a local police department wants to join our campaign, middle schools, different groups that have larger amounts of sales in a given year are now considering how can we add more healthier options to the options that they have. In some cases, like a hospital, for example, would have early in the year, there's one of our partners had 70% of the beverages that they offer were healthy, but they moved to 78% now. And that just shows that subtle shift where there are still beverages that are considered not healthy, but they are little by little shifting. And it's because just being able to give them the tools they need to make small changes, we know that we're going to see a bigger impact throughout the whole state as different groups are doing the same thing.
I could tell you that's going on right here in the township of East Brunswick in the public library, because if you look out there, there are a lot of sugary options that are available, but the administration is aware of it, and we're exploring much healthier options right now to be able to bring in, not only because it's good for people, but also some of the revenue that's collected from these vending machines also helps to support the activities of the library and bring in great programs and add more resources. So it's also smart business as well by being able to give consumers what they really want.
Right. There is a misconception that eating healthy is too expensive and it's difficult. But that's not particularly true when it comes to beverages, because a bottle of water on just the margins alone a vendor can make more money if people are drinking more water. Some anecdotal evidence regarding that is one of our partners, another hospital in Union County, they started combining a pizza with water in the combo rather than a soda. Or doing a 2-for-1 deal on the water, and they saw a increase of their beverage sales by 5%, and they attribute it to the fact that people are buying more bottles of water. So these subtle changes, just like here at this location, and kudos to the Wellness Council here in East Brunswick that is also very passionate about ensuring that we are really developing a culture of health when it comes to something like this issue. And we all can make these subtle changes, and they add up.
They do. In addition to the numbers of organizations, businesses, and municipalities that are joining you, how else do you gauge your success for the campaign?
Right. I mentioned a change in sales, right? So that's a big component that will allow us to measure the change in behavior. But there's also something about knowledge and attitudes and intended behavior around sugary drinks. So in 2018, we found that there was a shift in people realizing that energy drinks is also a sugary beverages.
Or fruit juices.
Fruit juices,
people
especially.
Think fruit juices are healthy.
Absolutely. So are sports drinks as well. I have experiences when I was in high school and played football in the local team, and my mom would get me gallons and gallons of sports drinks, and I thought nothing of it. And I kind of feel like I still carry some of that to this day, because at the end of the day, my mother at the time didn't know better. Today, now she's always making sure she's giving me water whenever I go to her house. It's a really sweet kind of change that we're both healthy together because we learned over time. And that's part of what we're measuring. Are we able to encourage people to understand what they're putting into their bodies, to know what's in their drink? And we did see a change in every measure that people are becoming more aware over time. And that's really how you make cultural change. It can't happen in one day. Certainly, over in New York, they learned that you cannot do it all in one policy and just try to remove it all. But little by little, we're able to make the shift. So doing surveys, online surveys, telephone surveys of the population that has seen our ads is how we're getting another sense of where people are when it comes to the issue.
Who's behind New Jersey Sugar-Freed?
So it's two overarching groups. Number one, the Public Good Projects, who I also represent. They design health behavior campaigns, as well as the Nicholson Foundation, who donated on our campaign for the last 2 years, helping us do this work.
Orville, is it possible for the public to get involved with New Jersey Sugar-Freed?
Absolutely. Just go to njsugarfreed.org. That's NJ Sugarfreed.org, because our goal is to be freed from sugar. There you can find out if you represent an organization, a township, a school. You can take the pledge, and we give you all of the wellness materials, from posters and tank cards. You can even get hundreds of social media posts that you can share online. And it's the holiday season. It is the most difficult time to stay away from sugar. So make your life easier and drink water if you're going to wind up having a piece of cake.
And before we get on to another topic, which is going to be important in a minute, we just finished with Halloween. What tips do you have for parents whose kids want to go out there and trick or treat to get candy?
Right.
I know it's not a sugary drink, but it's still sugar.
Sure. I mean, and at this point, since we're past Halloween, I still want to give them, it's still important that they have some advice. It's really about ensuring that your child understands how much, not to avoid taking in so much of the sugar. If they're giving out candy, probably trying to find some lower calorie options of the candy, as well as making an effort for the child to don't get them used to sugar to begin with. Just recently, my beautiful little niece was born from my brother and his wife. And
congratulations.
Thank you. I'm so happy for them. And my first thing is, please don't give them any sugar. And she's completely in agreement.
And yet a lot of baby formulas have sugar in it.
Right. So she's very passionate about breastfeeding in that particular case for that particular reason.
I know a lot of people trade the candy that their kids bring back for another healthy treat.
Right. Yeah, there's a lot of little things that we can do, and I think the key component here is to be mindful. I don't want to eliminate any possibility of having a piece of candy in a given 2-3 month period, right? But being aware that don't encourage your child to eat a piece of candy or even drink one soda a day. Consider it as a treat, because one of the common things is that don't eat cake every day. I mean, that's almost like a common thing. Well, don't drink a soda every day. They're very comparable in terms of the sugar content. So being mindful that of the desserts that you eat.
And when you go shopping, stay on the perimeter of the supermarket. Don't go in the middle, and read the labels of what you're buying, because sugar is disguised as a lot of other chemicals that are essentially sugar that you want to avoid, like ketchup, for example, having high fructose corn syrup in it.
And when it comes to the labels, if you must, because sometimes you have to go into the middle aisle, we like to use the American Heart Association's model of the amount of sugar you should have in a given day. For women, it's 25 grams, which is pretty much the equivalent of 6 teaspoons of sugar, and 36 grams for men. So consider, if you drink your coffee sweet in the morning and you put 2, you're already 2 in the hole. And then if you have some rice, if you have some pasta in a given day, if you have some white bread, these add up extremely easily. So just be mindful and know the numbers and know what's in your drink, and those labels is really important.
And watch how much fruit you consume too, because, for example, pineapple, grapes, and bananas are the highest glycemic index fruits.
Right.
So it's probably best to stick to the lower glycemic index fruits, the berries, the dark berries, things like that.
Absolutely.
What other initiatives and projects are the public good projects working on?
So we have many projects throughout the country, but what's relevant right now is here in New Jersey. And the other topic, which cannot be understated how important it is vaping. We recently did some research related to analyzing what kind of messaging and conversations exist online related to vaping. From February 1st to June 1st of this past year, we analyzed all of the messages around the country around this topic, as well as pinpointed in New Jersey. And we found throughout that time period, 2.5 million posts exist that have some sort of message or commentary around e-cigarettes, around a variety of topics, not just pro, but also negative, but it's in general. But in New Jersey, it's 57,000 of those messages. But what we also observed through machine learning, we were able to observe that not all of those messages are coming from a human being necessarily, but we either suspect that they're a bot or an automated network, or we can confirm that they're an automated network, which means they're a system, an algorithm that functions to promote messages at a higher frequency at various times of the day that are programmed to push messages in a more intense fashion. And we found that a lot of those messages from either bots that we suspect or are confirmed are primarily talking about quitting tobacco, quitting smoking, but then going to e-cigarettes. And we've seen why that's part of the problem. There's no research that states that e-cigarettes is an appropriate smoking cessation device. It may work for a very small population of people, but it's being promoted as a smoking cessation device, which is a very big public health issue.
Isn't that just trading one bad habit for another?
It really is. It really is. Because there's still not only is there nicotine content, but now what we're finding with some of the findings of the lung diseases that we're finding and the deaths from vaping is that there's other materials inside of it, and because it hasn't been properly regulated, we don't know what people are smoking. And right now we're very scared.
And you hear of more and more children that are being hospitalized. Their lungs are shutting down. They're needing lung transplants. Their lives are being changed forever. They're on medications for the rest of their lives because of this.
And in kudos to Governor Murphy recently, who launched a task force to try to find what are the different ways they can address it. And one of the areas that is really risky for children is that they find ways to hide it. They even have hoodies that have a little device that allows the children to pull on an e-cigarette throughout their class day. So issues like that, I mean, it's really important for public health professionals to be aware what are the issues, how are people talking about it online? Not only these confirmed bots, but also humans. There are a community of people who believe that similar to sugary drink, it's my right to choose what I want, and certainly everybody does have a right to chew. This is what makes this country amazing. But as I mentioned, as I alluded to before, as public health professionals, it is also our right to let you know what's safe and what isn't for you and your family. And we just have a hard time saying that e-cigarettes is a safe thing to consume.
And they're not. I mean, if you ever spend any time inside one of the stores that sells vaping products, you can see that they're targeting the children.
Right, through the flavorings of the beverages. And also another layer to it is also the way this messaging is coming out. Of course, at a corner store, you could get rid of the flavoring. You could also get rid of the attractive signage, make sure you increase the age of how you can purchase. Very similar tactics that have been done with tobacco. But one of the areas that is not being very focused on is the conversation that exists online. I mean, 57,000 messages on the topic of e-cigarettes is a staggering amount of messages that are coming out that sometimes a local municipality wouldn't have the staff of social media professionals to focus on that one issue within their community, which is why we were tasked to do this work, and soon we're going to be able to promote the message and kind of share on a weekly basis what's trending online, how are people communicating around this topic, and provide suggestions for organizations to combat that, because at the end of the day, many of the nonprofits, they're not, most nonprofits don't have a dedicated marketer or a creative designer to create the kind of content online that's engaging. And that's where we come in. We provide this information because we're really trying to innovate the way we provide public health communication.
Who's behind the vaping industry? Is it the cigarette companies or is it someone else?
In some cases, it's the cigarette companies. Case in point with Juul. Altria is the parent company of Philip Morris, and Philip Morris owns Juul. So Juul is getting a lot of backlash right now as it relates to it. So we understand that a lot of the messages that are out there are veiled to be pro-vaping messages, even if it's talking about quitting smoking. Similarly, there's conversations around the health effects. It's starting to grow, and we're noticing messages where even the FDA, any of their messages are being called into question by these pro-vaping companies just to kind of shade, the information that's out there. And we live in an age right now that it's hard to trust your sources when it comes to the facts. And that's why we need to really arm ourselves with the information that we believe in, the scientifically vetted information that we understand, and be able to push it out into the community.
For the health professionals that are watching, what advice do you have for them on how they can help their patients better?
So certainly the first step would be is to join the conversation. Make sure that you're providing scientifically vetted information that you trust, that you can share with your clientele. Consider that when you have an individual intervention with somebody, and once they leave, they're walking away with the same device that's going to give them the information that they should not, that is not going to be as productive. So making sure that if they are going to get information, that they have access to information online that not only can they share with their friends, but also and their family members. But it could give them a fighting chance that they're not going to be tempted by the advertising and the messaging, and this way the credibility of the health professional is maintained if you join the conversation.
The Middlesex County Health and Wellness Council met this morning, and you've been to their meetings.
Yes, and I apologize if you didn't make it today. Caught me on camera saying that.
And a number of the hospitals, as well as the Middlesex County Health Department, have smoking cessation programs.
Yes, right.
Do those programs work just as well for people who want to quit vaping as for people who want to quit smoking cigarettes?
Right, it really does, because the key issue here is the behavior and the different things in your life that encourages you to smoke. Sometimes, we have high stress levels, and, we used to live in a culture, 50 years ago, the idea of smoking a cigarette was a tool that was promoted to relax. Today, of course, cigarettes are considered cancer sticks. They're not as sexy anymore, but the vaping device is, especially because you can do it indoors, you can do it in secret. It even smells like something amazing or tastes like something amazing. But being able to learn about the different ways that you yourself could take on this issue, and working with someone is really important. It's very similar to talking to someone about anxiety and depression. Being able to talk to someone that'll give you the tools you need to be able to quit and not need something like an e-cigarette is really important, and cessation programs are really important to have in a community.
Now, in addition to information that the Public Good Projects has on vaping, are there any programs that are available that the Public Good Projects offers, or what programs do you endorse and recommend for the viewers?
Our particular approach, because especially in every given community, different types of programs work differently, right? So our particular goal is to provide the extra support. So if you have a smoking cessation program, a mass communication campaign that supports your effort is where we come from. So we're trying to create the blanket environment where when people go online, when people go to the news source, when they go to a physical location, a store, they're seeing messages that remind folks to, encourage them to quit smoking, don't buy vaping, care for your health, care for your heart, care for your family's safety and their health. We provide the environmental support, the communication support. So we're not particularly programmatic in nature, but particularly with hospitals certainly have cessation programs, local doctors and providers have programs. We certainly endorse anything that's scientifically vetted, and we are here to help provide the information that you would need to keep promoting it, so that when they leave your vicinity and they're not face to face with you, they can still be reminded that what you're saying to them is true, it's about their health, and it's about their safety.
And for clubs, groups, organizations, and businesses that would like to contact you to have programs offered, how do they reach you?
They can call me, 973-704-6083. They can also email me at orville.morales@publicgoodprojects.org. And I'll be more than happy to answer all of their questions and especially guide them because thankfully in my role, I'm able to really connect with so many amazing programs throughout the state that I'll be more than happy to share information.
And is the information offered in a variety of languages?
We're working on that right now. In 2020, we plan on really boosting our work around vaping. And we hope to have it in a bilingual language.
In about less than a minute that we have remaining,
Sure.
Orville, what last thoughts do you have for our parents that are watching, raising children, or for the kids that are out there that may be on the fence with regard to sugar and vaping?
I would certainly say that they have a lot more power than they might give themselves credit for. They have power to decide what to buy. They have the ability, and I hope they really believe that they have the voice to go to their local organization to ask for the support. Don't hesitate to go to your nonprofit organization, to your principal, to your corner store and say, hey, can you provide something healthier for my children? We'll buy it at your location. One example I like to use is a corner store might not have apples because if people aren't buying it, why are they going to purchase it and have it stocked? So support your local business and encourage them to provide the kind of things that you need to keep your family healthy and safe.
Thank you, Orville. I really appreciate you being here, the Community Campaign Manager for New Jersey Sugarfreed and the Public Good. Thank you for spending time with us today on Wellness Spotlight.
Thank you so much, Dr. Freedman.
This concludes another segment of the East Brunswick Advisory Health Council's Wellness Spotlight. I'm Dr. Ken Freedman, President of the East Brunswick Advisory Health Council, with Orville Morales, giving you ways that you can have a sweeter life with less sugar, because wellness works when you work it.